This video we're going to be talking about how to conjugate regular ER verbs in present tense. Now there are three types of verbs in French. There are ER, IR, and RE. Now that just refers to the way that the verb ends in the infinitive. The infinitive is the unconjugated form of the verb. Okay, so like I said, they're just classified by those three classifications, and today we're going to be talking about the ones that end in ER. When we're talking about regular ones, that means they all follow a pattern. Most verbs that end in ER in French are regular, and so we're just going to be talking about those in this video. So, let's talk about how we conjugate those verbs. The first step of conjugating the verb, a regular ER verb in present tense, is you drop the ER to get the stem of your verb. After you've dropped the ER, then you add the ending depending on which subject it is you're conjugating it for. For je, you add an E. For tu, you add ES. Il and L, singular, you add an E. For nous, you add ONS. For vous, you add EZ. For il and L, plural, you add ENT. So this is a fairly simple conjugation. A very easy process. An example of some regular ER verbs that we have in French are parler. Okay, we should know these. These are from the Unit 1 vocab list. Parler, which means to speak. Jouer, which is to play. Écouter, which is to listen. And aimer, which is to like or to love. Now this is just a couple of them. There are many, many, many others. I'm just giving you a couple examples to show you what they look like. Okay, now these are the verbs in the infinitive. Now remember, the infinitive of the verb is the unconjugated form of the verb. So let's do an example. Let's do a couple examples of conjugating some of these verbs present tense so that we can see how to do it. So let's take parler, and we need to conjugate parler for je. So let's go through our step process. We've got parler here in the infinitive. Our first step is you drop the ER. Okay, take that off, and that gives us our stem. And then for je, we add an E on the end, so it is je parle. For instance, je parle anglais or je parle français. Let's do another example. Let's take the verb écouter, just because it starts with a vowel. So écouter, our first, we're going to conjugate it for je again. Okay, so écouter is our infinitive. Our first step is we drop the ER, which gives us our stem. And we come around, and for je, now we look at this, and right here, okay, we add the E on the end. But you notice we've got these two E's together. In French, that cannot exist. Okay, you can't have these two E's together. So, what we do is we get rid of this E, we put an apostrophe, and then this becomes one word, j'écoute. Okay, you can do this for most verbs. You never do it with to. Okay, I want to preface that. You never do it with to or with L. Right here, you're never going to combine the subject and the verb for those. But for je, if you have a vowel or a silent H that starts the verb, then you're going to have a J apostrophe and then the verb. Let's do another example. All right, so we're going to conjugate aimer for new. So we have our infinitive, the unconjugated form of the verb. Our first step is we drop the ER to give us our stem. So it's AIM. So we drop the ER, and our stem is AIM. And we're going to conjugate it for new. So we've got our subject new, our stem, and we add the ending for new, which is ONS. So it becomes nous aimons. Now this is an example of where you've got the S followed by a vowel, and you create what's called a liaison. Okay, it makes the S sound into a Z, because normally we would just say nous, but in this case it ends up being nous, but we combine it with the verb to become nous aimons. All right, now this liaison here that I've drawn, that's just to show you that they go together. When you conjugate it, you should not put the liaison underneath it. It should look just like this. So that's how to conjugate regular ER verbs in present tense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me before, after, or during class, or email me questions. Put questions in the question box that is back on the file cabinet for the beginning of class. If you have something that you want to write down and ask me, or you can make comments on the video. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need so that you can get this correct, have it ready, and conjugate regular ER verbs in present tense correctly. So I will see you in class.